Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Deep Dive.
It's great to be here, ready to unpack some big ideas with you.
Absolutely. Today, we're tackling something pretty fascinating, actually. We're going to analyze 3 distinct political manifestos from Jamaica.
That's right. We've got the Jamaica Labour Party's The Next Chapter, the People's National Party's Jamaica Love Manifesto, and the United Independence Congress's vision, which they call A Real New Jamaica. Quite the lineup.
It really is. And our task today for you listening is to really dig into these documents. We're going beyond the sound bites.
Exactly. We'll be looking critically at their soundness. You know, how coherent are their arguments? How well-reasoned are the proposals?
Right. And then there's practicality. How feasible is all this stuff? Can it actually be implemented in the real world?
Crucial question. And finally, the benefits. What are they promising for the Jamaican people? And maybe, who benefits most from each vision?
And we're not stopping there. By the end of this conversation, we're actually going to rank them first, second, and third, based purely on those criteria we just mentioned: soundness, practicality, benefits.
It's a critical exercise, not about endorsing anyone, but about understanding these different blueprints for a nation's future based on what they've put on paper.
Exactly. So let's get into it. Okay, let's kick things off with the Jamaica Labour Party. The JLP, their manifesto is called The Next Chapter. And honestly, from page 1, the message is crystal clear. It's all about continuity, wouldn't you say? Like proven leadership, track record.
Absolutely. The slogans jump right out at you. Choose the team that is tried and tested. Choose leadership that delivers.
And that big one, we will continue. It sets a very specific tone, like we're already on the move, don't interrupt.
It totally does. The whole framing is about building on what they see as past successes, particularly under Prime Minister Andrew Holness since 2016.
Right.
It's a narrative that says, look, we've done good work, and this is just the next phase. The underlying idea is that the current approach works, and these are just natural extensions. Stability, momentum, that's the vibe.
Yeah, and there's that recurring theme, too. Choose what works for you.
Oh, yeah. That's woven throughout.
Yeah.
It's clever. It's not just general policy. They're trying to connect directly with different groups, you know, public sector workers, farmers, students, seniors, showing how existing policies and the plans to continue them benefit them personally. It's very much tailored to individual voter experience.
Okay, so let's talk soundness then, because that's where their focus on our record really comes into play, right? They're basically saying their past achievements make them credible.
That's the bedrock of their argument for soundness.
Yeah.
And they don't hold back on the numbers to support it.
No, they don't. I mean, cutting poverty from over 21% down to about 8%, that's a huge claim.
Huge. And reducing the debt to GDP ratio from, was it 147%?
Yeah, down under 69%, that's significant.
And they highlight no new taxes for 8 straight years, while also claiming over 250,000 new jobs created and unemployment slashed to 3.5%.
These aren't just vague statements. They're presented as hard evidence of effective economic management.
Precisely. And it's not just the economy. They extend that record to infrastructure and development, too, things people can see.
Like the land titles. Over 23,500 delivered, they say, and building more than 34,000 homes.
Exactly. Plus those big road projects, the South Coast Highway, expanding the North Coast Highway, the Montego Bay Perimeter Road. Those are major visible works.
True. And security. They claim a big drop in murders, 44.6% down as of mid-2025.
A very significant figure, if accurate, alongside hiring thousands of new police officers, reaching full strength, plus adding 5,000 soldiers and appointing more judges.
Right. Even healthcare and education get listed, upgrading health centers, training community health aides, investing billions in school repairs.
And removing the guarantor requirement for student loans. That's a big deal for access to higher education.
And they also frame their COVID-19 response as a success, right? Highlighting the spending on health services, the CARE program.
And crucially, emphasizing that all public sector jobs were protected during that really tough period. It builds this picture of stability, even in crisis.
So how does using all these specific data points establish their credibility? What's the strategy there?
Well, the strategy is pretty clear. They're arguing that past performance is the best predictor of future success. Their soundness isn't based on some radical new philosophy.
Right.
It's results-oriented. It's pragmatic. We said we'd do X, Y, and Z, and look, we did it. This projects an image of dependable, capable leadership.
So they're saying, you can trust us to deliver again because we already have.
Exactly. That focus on our record is designed to tell you, the listener, Don't just rely on promises, look at our actual accomplishments. It's a very tangible kind of soundness claim.
So if they're leaning so heavily on these receipts, these past actions, how does that focus on our record really shape their overall argument for staying in power?
Yeah.
It feels like they're making any alternative seem like a big, unnecessary risk.
You nailed it. It creates this powerful narrative for continuity. It suggests that changing course now would be a gamble, potentially jeopardizing the progress they claim to have made. It positions them as the safe pair of hands, the experienced team. By listing achievements across so many different areas, economy, infrastructure, security, social programs, they build this cumulative case.
A case being?
That their leadership isn't just effective, it's necessary to maintain momentum and stability. It's a story that really appeals to voters who value reliability and tangible step-by-step progress rather than, radical shifts.
That's like a steady as she goes, but keep improving philosophy.
Pretty much. Don't fix what isn't broken, just keep refining and building on it.
Okay, let's pivot to practicality then. This is where the JLP manifesto seems quite strong, right? The level of detail is pretty granular, and often it's just building on things already happening.
Yeah, the detail is noticeable. It's not just broad promises. Take economic management. They commit to getting debt below 60% of GDP by a specific year, 2027-28. That's a clear target.
And the tax reform, phased and disciplined, aiming for 15% income tax. That sounds planned out.
It does, and they even mention specific allocations, like $2 billion already allocated this year to the Development Bank of Jamaica for small businesses. That suggests the wheels are already in motion for some things.
Right. Doesn't sound like just an idea. It sounds like a plan in progress.
Precisely. Look at energy renegotiating the JPS license for cheaper electricity in 2027. That's a specific date. Aiming for 50% renewable energy by 2030, with breakdown targets for megawatts.
100 mil billion awarded, 220 millijoule procured, yeah.
It shows a roadmap. Or housing and land delivering 25,000 land titles per year through a new system, promising 60,000 housing solutions next term.
And they get really specific with the National Housing Trust, the NHT reforms, lowering the deposit, increasing loan limits.
From $7.5 million to $9 million for a single applicant, for example. And those special interest rate cuts for teachers, nurses, security forces. Plus that roof repair and room completion program for 5,000 homes, very specific, targeted help.
It extends to transport, too. That rural school bus system, $50 per trip, 110 buses starting September 2025.
Phase 1, yeah. And 100 more new buses for the JUTC, refurbishing 46 others. Even digital stuff, 300 more public Wi-Fi hotspots. It reads less like a wish list and more like a project management document sometimes.
So how does all this detail, this continuation approach, bolster the practicality argument?
Well, it underpins it significantly. The practicality isn't just claimed, it feels demonstrated through these specific numbers, timelines, and the whole continuation framework. It lowers the perceived risk.
Because it's not starting from scratch.
Exactly. It's about expanding, refining, optimizing what's already in motion. That feels inherently more achievable than building entirely new systems from the ground up. And that structure, the choose for you sections we mentioned, that also helps practicality in terms of communication. Makes it easier for you, the individual listener or voter, to see exactly how you fit into these plans.
So that strategy of expanding and continuing existing programs really makes their manifesto seem highly practical, doesn't it? It suggests they've already got the tools and the know-how.
It definitely creates that sense of reliability and predictability. When you're building on existing infrastructure or programs or policies, you're not facing the complete unknowns of a brand new implementation.
Less uncertainty.
Right. The JLP is essentially saying, we're not just dreaming this up, we're executing the next logical phase of a plan that's already working. That familiarity makes the proposal seem more achievable.
Because they can point to past delivery as a kind of template for future delivery.
Precisely. It suggests efficiency, less disruption, which, can be very appealing if you're focused on stability and just getting things done.
Okay, benefits. The JLP manifesto outlines a pretty wide array of promised advantages. Seems very focused on tangible, maybe even immediate impact. Things people feel in their daily lives.
That seems to be the goal. Economically, it's more money in pockets. They talk about doubling the income tax threshold to $1.8 million, lowering GCT and electricity tax, that $20,000 tax rebate for workers.
The first ever, they say.
Yeah, plus new jobs, boosting business confidence. Socially, there's the poverty reduction claim, better healthcare access through those upgraded centers, improved education via school upgrades, and strengthening social safety nets like PATH, the social pension, that My Pension Plus portal.
So things touching a lot of different people.
Exactly. Designed to reach broad segments. And then quality of life stuff, the new roads, water systems, affordable housing.
Cleaner environment, too. Planting millions of trees. And safer communities, crime reduction, more police. These are all very concrete, visible things.
And don't forget the specific group benefits. Beyond the general tax rebate and the minimum wage increase they highlight since 2016.
158%, yeah.
There are those tailored NHT benefits for teachers, nurses, security forces, lower interest, higher loan limits, and income tax relief promised for seniors.
It seems very focused on direct, measurable improvements, things people can count or see.
That's the core strategy for benefits, yes. Improvements in daily life, economic well-being, designed to be widely appealing and show they're paying attention to different segments of society.
It's clear how this approach tries to resonate directly with voters' personal experiences, like saying, look what we did for you already, and we'll keep doing more of the same, just better.
Exactly that. By highlighting benefits that are either already being felt or are logical extensions of current progress, they try to create this sense of direct relevance and personal gain for you, the voter.
Makes sense.
The focus is on immediate, tangible relief and improvement rather than, say, abstract, long-term societal shifts. It taps into that pragmatic desire for stability and continuous, observable betterment. They want you to see how their vision translates into personal advantage.
Okay, let's switch gears now. The People's National Party, the PNP, and their Jamaica Love Manifesto.
Right.
The title itself, A Pledge to Country, immediately signals something different. It feels rooted in, well, love of country and this idea that Jamaica, time come.
It's a call for transformation, isn't it?
Definitely. And what jumps out is the heavy emphasis on restoring trust and explicitly fighting corruption. It feels less like continuing the path and more like a moral and systemic reset.
It's a very deliberate contrast to the JLP narrative. The PNP manifesto directly challenges the idea of current prosperity, arguing it doesn't match the daily reality for many Jamaicans.
So arguing the status quo isn't working for everyone.
Exactly, signaling a clear departure, saying the current system needs a new direction. And their whole vision is structured around Mission Jamaica Love and those 8 pillars for building a new Jamaica.
Right, the pillars covering everything from justice and education to accountability and the environment.
It provides this comprehensive framework for the transformation they're proposing. It's a very holistic, values-driven identity, positioning themselves as the party for a fundamental change.
So talking soundness for the PNP, it's a really different approach from the JLP, isn't it? They don't lead with a track record of recent delivery.
No, they lead with a critique.
Right. They build their case by diagnosing the current situation.
Yeah.
Laying out problems as the reason their solutions are needed.
They cite specific issues. More than half of Jamaicans struggle to access adequate food, or many young people migrate, unable to find employment.
They also mentioned the health system being in crisis, hospitals overwhelmed, and kids leaving school without basic literacy or numeracy.
And corruption is widespread. Gated wealth sits beside underserved communities. This diagnostic approach is absolutely central to their argument for why fundamental change is sound policy.
So their soundness comes from identifying root causes.
Largely, yes. It comes from identifying what they see as the root causes of societal problems, and then proposing systemic, often legislative, reforms, not just incremental adjustments. The argument is the current system is inherently flawed, so a deep transformation is the only sound path forward.
And they bring in their history, too.
They do. They reference the PNP's historical role in decolonizing Jamaican society and initiating major social reforms like PATH and the National Health Fund.
Okay.
This history bolsters their claim that they are the party capable of and committed to truly transformative change rooted in social justice principles.
And the proposed reforms are pretty foundational, like constitutional reform replacing the monarch with a Jamaican president.
Yeah, and making the Caribbean Court of Justice the final appellate court. Big structural changes.
Plus strengthening Parliament with impeachment and recall procedures, and expanding the Senate to include diaspora, persons with disabilities, Rastafari, Maroon communities.
It's about broadening representation and accountability at the highest levels, and their legal and legislative reform proposals are just as sweeping.
Recognizing the Jamaican language, banning hair discrimination, protecting ancestral spaces.
Full recognition for Rastafari as an indigenous religion, reaching an accord with Maroon communities, a progressive beach access policy.
And accountability in governance, getting rid of those gag clauses in the Integrity Commission Act.
publishing statutory declarations for the executive, restoring the office of the political ombudsman. It's a holistic approach, arguing systemic change is needed to tackle deep issues of inequity and injustice. That's the core of their soundness claim.
So how does focusing on a transformation grounded in love, justice, and people power really inform their vision for a sound future? It seems like the guiding principle behind all this critique and reform.
It absolutely acts as their moral and philosophical compass. By grounding the vision in these principles, they're saying a truly sound future isn't just about GDP figures or slightly better roads.
It's about
achieving a society that's inherently just, fair, equitable, inclusive. The critique of the current situation isn't just about inefficiency. It's framed as a moral imbalance.
Okay.
Therefore, their systemic reforms are presented as the logical, necessary, sound steps to align the nation with these core values. It's a much more ideological and values-driven definition of soundness compared to the JLP's more pragmatic, results-focused one.
Okay, moving to practicality. The PNP Manifesto proposes a lot of new programs, new funds. Many seem to need big legislative changes or new institutional setups.
That's a key difference, yes. It's not just tweaking, it's often creating a new or fundamentally restructuring.
Like in education, that RIDE program for subsidized student travel, $10,000 a month for 20,000 students.
And the EASE program for daily hot meals for needy kids, plus building modern vocational labs in all high schools for NBQJ certification.
And the student loan amnesty, the first in family, full scholarships. These are significant social interventions.
They require substantial new funding and administrative structures. It's a big lift. Or look at infrastructure renegotiating the JPS license, that electricity empowerment program for low-income households.
Ensuring every household has clean water by 2030, reintroducing the lengthman system for drain cleaning.
These aren't small tweaks. They demand major policy shifts, operational changes, significant investment.
And agriculture. An agricultural development fund, aiming to cut the food import bill by 25% in 5 years.
Plus that SMART program for climate resilience training. Again, new structures, ambitious targets.
And the care for the vulnerable proposals seem massive, investing billions annually in a new family-centered social work system.
$5 billion over 5 years for 100,000 seniors. $1 billion replenished annually, faith-based community transformation fund, another $1 billion for a national disability fund.
These are huge budget commitments for new or massively expanded safety nets. It shows a clear financial commitment, but raises practicality questions.
It certainly does. And perhaps most ambitious is land and housing, ending that annual $11.4 billion draw from the NHT.
Building 50,000 affordable houses on public land, excluding the land value from the price. That's a game changer for affordability.
Huge. Plus an NHT rent-to-own program, $1 billion young owners deposit fund for grants.
And amending the law for adverse possession of Crown lands, cutting the time needed from 60 years down to 25. That's a massive legal and social shift.
It really is. For those unfamiliar, adverse possession is basically claiming ownership by long-term occupation. Yeah. Changing that time frame for Crown lands is profoundly significant.
So the practicality of the PNP's plan, it really seems to hinge on the political will to push through these deep changes, right? And managing these big new programs effectively.
Absolutely. The practicality here depends heavily on enacting major legislation and managing large-scale social initiatives. The Mission Jamaica Love philosophy suggests the commitment is there to drive it. But the sheer scale of some overhauls makes them inherently more challenging to implement than the JLP's more incremental path. It requires not just money, but significant political capital, coordination, and administrative capacity.
So they use specific funds and legislative goals to show feasibility, but you still have to acknowledge the sheer scale of the proposed transformation.
Exactly. It's a significant undertaking. It requires a different kind of practical approach, one focused on fundamental restructuring, which is harder, but potentially offers more profound long-term change.
It's a different kind of practicality. The practicality of achieving systemic change, not just program expansion.
Well put. It's about successfully navigating the huge complexities, political, social, administrative, of transforming entrenched systems. It needs broad consensus, strong institutions. It's a high-stakes, high-reward kind of practicality.
Okay, let's look at the benefits promised by the PNP. The focus seems squarely on equity, dignity, inclusive growth. Fits the Jamaica Love theme.
That's absolutely the heart of it. The benefits are targeted to address historical inequalities and lift up vulnerable groups.
Like in social justice. expanded legal aid for civil constitutional matters, facilities for domestic violence victims, an Elder Care Act, disability integration plan.
Plus things like a mobile app and safe spaces to protect women and girls. Very specific interventions for a more just, protective society.
And economic empowerment. They talk about 100,000 direct, 400,000 indirect jobs, an MSME collateral insurance facility.
Formalizing the informal economy. Fair wages for tourism workers, specifically mentioning no tax on tips gratuity. Plus that billion-dollar creative economy fund and the National Youth Innovation Fund aiming to seed 5,000 youth businesses.
So aimed at broad-based upliftment, focusing on those often left out.
Precisely. And access and opportunity universal water by 2030, subsidized school transport, RIDE, daily hot meals for needy students, EASE, the student loan amnesty, first and family scholarships.
And the land and housing stuff, titling for informal settlements, those 50,000 affordable houses with land value excluded.
Even the cultural benefits, recognizing Jamaican language patois, national hero status for Bob Marley and Miss Lou, are framed as boosting national dignity and pride.
It really seems aimed at broad societal impact by prioritizing the most vulnerable and marginalized. A very people-centric view of benefits, trying to rebalance things.
It is. The manifesto explicitly wants to close the gaps. Benefits are framed around social mobility, inclusion, creating a caring state that actively intervenes to fix disparities.
So the idea is lift the floor and everyone benefits.
That's the underlying assumption. By uplifting those historically left behind, you create greater social cohesion, a more equitable distribution of prosperity, benefiting the whole nation. It's a transformative vision where benefits are measured by shared growth and improved lives for the most needy, not just overall GDP. It's about changing fundamental opportunities.
Okay, third manifesto. The United Independence Congress, UIC. A real new Jamaica.
Right.
And this one feels like a radical departure right from the title. A nonpartisan constitutional republic.
Immediately signals something completely different.
The principle, one Jamaica united, strong and free, sounds good, but the way they propose getting there, it's almost revolutionary.
It is. And what hits you immediately are the strong libertarian philosophical roots. It doesn't just tweak policy, it challenges the state's fundamental moral authority to initiate force or use fraud. Wow. Okay.
That's a foundational philosophical statement. It rejects political parties, partisan politics, proposes a Congress of Independence. It's a complete reimagining of governance.
So less a platform, more an ideology.
Exactly. A declaration of a specific, non-interventionist ideology aiming to redefine the very nature and role of government in Jamaica.
So how does that impact its soundness? It seems the soundness here comes from its own internal consistency, sticking rigidly to its principles.
That's precisely it. Its soundness derives from unwavering adherence to core libertarian principles. It's like a philosophical treatise turned into a manifesto.
Key principles being
individual rights, first and foremost, sole dominion over their own lives, bodies, and justly acquired properties, ultimate personal autonomy.
Okay.
Then, limited government. Government force must be limited to the protection of the rights of individuals to life, liberty, and property, denying the government the right to interfere with lives or labor beyond that basic protection.
A vastly reduced role for the state. Hugely. And the non-initiation of force principle. No individual, group, or government may rightly initiate force against any other. Pushing for a truly voluntary society.
And free markets.
Government's only proper economic role is protecting property rights, adjudicating disputes, providing a legal framework for voluntary trade. That's it.
Plus repealing laws creating crimes without victims.
Yeah.
Like gambling, drug use, consensual sex work.
A very bold stance on personal freedom, yes.
So how does this consistent application make it sound?
Well, the soundness here is its internal logical consistency. If you accept the foundational premises, individual liberty is paramount, government intervention is inherently coercive and harmful beyond basic protection, then all their policies follow logically.
From privacy rights to environmental policy based on property rights, not regulation.
Exactly. The strength is that internal coherence. It's a principled, ideologically pure form of soundness where every policy is a direct application of those core beliefs.
So this unwavering commitment to individual liberty, even if it overrides what many see as collective needs or safety nets, that shapes everything. No compromises.
It absolutely dictates every single policy. The framework is built entirely around maximizing individual autonomy and minimizing state intervention. Collective action should be voluntary, not state-mandated.
meaning traditional government functions.
Like welfare, broad infrastructure projects funded by general taxation, redistribution. They're either drastically cut back or completely abolished in this model.
So while it's philosophically consistent, it completely redefines the social contract away from what most modern states practice.
Completely. It diverges significantly from the expectation that government plays a broader role in providing welfare, regulating markets, and ensuring certain collective outcomes.
Okay, let's talk practicality, because this is where the UIC manifesto seems to face its biggest hurdles. We're talking about re-engineering the entire state and society.
It's not just challenging, it's revolutionary. It's a complete overhaul, a dismantling and rebuilding from the ground up.
Take the governance structure. Abolishing political parties. Creating a Congress of Independents. President, VPs, senators, representatives, all elected nonpartisanly.
And heads of departments, the old ministers, would be non-elected, vetted experts. This requires a total constitutional and electoral rewrite, dismantling the existing parliamentary system entirely.
And government finance. Limiting government revenue to just 10% of individual earnings for public goods.
And a separate 10% sales tax earmarked only for humanitarian crises, nutrition, education, healthcare, housing for the poor.
That's a drastic cut in state revenue. How would current services even function? It's a radical new funding model.
It implies a radical reduction in services, yes. And look at social systems, phasing out the current government retirement system like NIS.
For a private voluntary system.
Yeah.
And saying help for the poor comes from voluntary efforts of private groups and individuals.
That dismantles existing safety nets like NIS and NHT. It's a massive shift of responsibility from the state to voluntary charity and individual planning. Huge societal change.
And economic regulation. Opposing occupational licensing, subsidies, bailouts, government competing with private enterprise, mandated benefits.
It means massive deregulation across almost every sector, fundamentally changing how business operates.
Education and healthcare. Best provided by the free market. Parents control education funds. Individuals handle their own healthcare and insurance in a free market.
These proposals, while perfectly consistent with their libertarian philosophy, are incredibly impractical to implement in an existing functioning state without causing immense social and economic chaos.
It's not tweaking the system, it's replacing the operating system entirely.
Precisely. The shift from a welfare state, even a limited one, to a truly minimal state is monumental. It would face huge resistance, logistical nightmares. The real-world practicality is extremely low.
So the practicality hinges on a complete reimagining of the social contract. That's more than a hurdle. It's like needing to cross an ocean in a rowboat.
That's a good analogy. It requires not just policy change, but a fundamental shift in public expectations, institutional roles, the very idea of collective responsibility.
Things built up over decades.
Exactly. Implementing this would mean overcoming deeply ingrained culture, established safety nets, existing government infrastructure. The practical path is fraught with challenges far beyond typical policy work. It needs a level of societal consensus and acceptance of disruption rarely seen. Fascinating philosophy, deeply challenging practice.
Okay, finally, the benefits promised by the UIC. Given the philosophy, they're mostly centered on individual autonomy and free markets, right?
That's the core, yes. The main benefits revolve around maximizing individual liberty, freedom to consume what you choose, full freedom of expression, privacy, parental rights to raise kids according to their beliefs.
Appealing to those who prioritize personal freedom above all.
Yeah, definitely. And economic freedom. Individuals keep the fruits of their labor, no government property taxes, unrestricted movement of capital and people, spending your earnings as you see fit.
Maximizing personal wealth and opportunity, free from state interference.
That's the promise. Plus, reduced state interference more broadly, no government control over energy, no occupational licensing blocking entry to professions, no government debt at interest, a leaner, less intrusive state.
And justice system reform. Repealing those crimes without victims, focusing on restitution for actual harm.
Aiming for a justice system focused solely on tangible harm, not enforcing particular moral codes through law.
So these benefits of individual freedom and economic efficiency are clear. But how do they stack up against the established social protections and collective welfare people expect now? Seems like a major trade-off. Gain freedom, potentially lose the safety net.
That is the central tension and the core trade-off. The benefits are designed to create a society of self-reliant individuals and a super-efficient, unregulated economy. Less government equals more prosperity and choice is the premise. But these benefits inherently risk leaving behind those who traditionally rely on state support, the poor, elderly, disabled, if those voluntary systems don't robustly and reliably replace the state ones.
A big if.
A very big if. The promise of individual liberty is compelling to many, but it necessitates this profound reevaluation of collective responsibility. The question hangs in the air. What is the cost of this increased individual freedom for the collective, especially the most vulnerable?
Right. Okay. We've dug into all three: JLP, PNP, UIC, soundness, practicality, benefits. Now for the really tricky part, comparing them head-to-head and ranking them.
This is where it gets tough, because they're operating from such different philosophical starting points. But let's apply our criteria consistently.
Let's start with soundness. We agreed the UIC has strong philosophical soundness.
Right.
Internally consistent libertarianism.
Absolutely. If you buy into the core principles, it holds together logically.
Yeah.
But we also questioned if that ideological purity translates to sound governance for a diverse, complex nation like Jamaica with real historical inequalities.
Right. Its strength, in theory, might be its weakness in practice for a whole society.
Then the PNP. Their soundness comes from that deep diagnosis of current problems. Arguing systemic issues needs systemic, justice-focused reform. It's sound because it claims to understand the root causes.
And the JLP. Soundness based on pragmatism and their claimed track record. We know how to run things. Look at the results.
Exactly. Pragmatic soundness based on claimed delivery and stability. So we have philosophical soundness, diagnostic reform soundness, and results-based soundness.
Which type provides the strongest foundation for governing a nation facing Jamaica's challenges?
It's debatable, but arguably for a complex society, a framework that deeply analyzes existing systemic problems and proposes structured solutions to address root causes, like the PNP attempts, offers a very strong claim to foundational soundness. It acknowledges complexity.
More so than pure ideology, or just relying on past metrics without that deep critique.
Perhaps. While the JLP's results-based approach is compelling for stability, the PNP's attempt to grapple with underlying structural issues gives it, in my view, a slight edge in terms of comprehensive governmental soundness for long-term progress.
Okay, so for soundness, 1, PNP, strongest for its deep analysis of systemic problems and proposing interconnected reforms aimed at root causes and social justice.
Okay.
2, JLP, strong for its pragmatic, results-based argument rooted in claimed track record, offering stability. 3, UIC, philosophically sound internally but questionable governmental soundness for a diverse society due to its radical departure from established norms and collective needs.
Agreed. Now, practicality. This seemed clear. The JLP came out strong here, right?
Yeah, lots of continuation, expansion of existing programs, specific budgets, timelines. It feels achievable within the current system. Delivering 25,000 land titles per year via a new system sounds operational. Renegotiating JPS in 2027 sounds scheduled.
It suggests a lower implementation risk. Incremental, managed change.
The PNP, more ambitious. Good specific programs like RIDE or the Creative Funds with budgets.
But also those huge constitutional and legislative reforms. Replacing the monarch, CCJ as final court, ending the NHT draw. Achievable, but requiring massive political will and coordination. Higher practical challenge.
And the UIC practicality seemed incredibly low. Abolishing parties, 10% revenue cap, phasing out NIS-NHT, free market everything.
It's a total system reset. Monumental practical hurdles, dismantling and rebuilding almost everything. Extremely complex and disruptive.
So practicality ranking seems straightforward. 1, JLP, highest practicality due to incrementalism, building on existing structures, detailed plans. 2, PNP, moderate practicality mix of achievable programs and very challenging systemic reforms. 3, UIC, lowest practicality due to the radical, disruptive nature of its proposed total system overhaul.
That aligns with their discussion. Now, benefits. This depends on what kind of benefit you prioritize. GLP offers broad, tangible improvements.
Yeah, jobs, lower debt, roads, crime reduction, tax relief, incremental gains for many people's standard of living, stability.
PNP benefits focus heavily on equity, social justice, the vulnerable.
Definitely. Student loan amnesty, affordable housing excluding land value, big support for seniors and disabled, closing gaps. Transformative social impact, dignity.
And UIC benefits are all about individual liberty and economic freedom.
Keeping your earnings, minimal state interference, freedom from regulation, personal choice in health education. Appealing if you value autonomy above all.
But with that potential downside of losing the social safety net for the vulnerable if voluntary systems don't step up massively.
So broad tangible gains versus targeted systemic upliftment versus maximal individual freedom. For a nation like Jamaica, with its specific context of inequality, which package of benefits offers the most comprehensive positive impact for the majority?
That's the key question. Given significant socioeconomic disparities, benefits explicitly tackling inequality, providing social protection, and creating pathways for the vulnerable often have the broadest positive ripple effect. Lifting the floor can benefit everyone.
So prioritizing the vulnerable might offer the most widespread improvement in well-being.
Arguably, yes. While the JLP offers broad improvements and the UIC offers freedom, the PNP's focus on correcting deep disparities and uplifting those most in need could provide the most significant overall societal benefit in Jamaica's current context.
Okay, benefits ranking. 1, PNP. Highest for its focus on equity, dignity, inclusive growth, targeting vulnerable groups to address systemic disadvantage and broaden access. 2, JLP. Strong for broad, tangible, continued benefits across many sectors, offering stability and incremental quality of life improvements. 3, UIC. Offers significant individual liberty, economic freedom benefits, but potential loss of safety nets makes overall benefit questionable for the most vulnerable and society as a whole without proven alternatives.
That captures it well. So we have the rankings for each criterion: soundness, PNP, JLP, UIC, practicality, JLP, PNP, UIC, benefits, PNP, JLP, UIC.
Now for the final overall ranking, putting it all together, this is tough.
It is, but based on weighing those three factors, how do they stack up overall? For you, the listener, this is about seeing how these different elements interact.
So number 1, it feels like the PNP's strong showing on soundness, deep analysis, and benefits, equity focus, slightly outweighs the JLP's edge on practicality, especially if you believe transformative change is needed.
I'd agree. The PNP presents a compelling case for why change is needed and who it will benefit most profoundly addressing root causes. While ambitious, the plans have enough structure to seem attainable with sufficient will. That combination of diagnostic strength and equitable benefit gives it the edge.
Okay, so first place, PNP, Jamaica Love. Justification. Strong soundness via critical analysis and systemic reform proposals addressing root causes. Transformative benefits focused on equity, dignity, and the vulnerable. Sufficient practicality through specific funds and legislative pushes, making its ambitious vision seem achievable with political commitment.
Makes sense. Then second place falls to the JLP.
Seems logical. Very high practicality, clear continuity, broad tangible benefits. It's the stable, incremental progress option. Its soundness is rooted in that claimed track record.
Right. It scores well on delivering observable improvements and being highly implementable. Its weakness might be a perceived lack of ambition on deeper systemic issues compared to the PNP.
So second place, JLP, the next chapter. Justification. High practicality via continuation and detailed plans. Soundness based on claimed track record and stability. Broad, tangible benefits across many sectors appealing for continuity. Less transformative on systemic issues, but strong on reliable delivery.
Which leaves the UIC in third.
Yeah. Philosophically interesting. High marks for internal consistency, soundness within its framework, but extremely low practicality due to the radical system overhaul required, and benefits heavily skewed towards individual liberty at the potential cost of collective welfare and safety nets.
The impracticality is the major hurdle. It's a vision so far removed from the current reality and likely societal expectations that implementing it seems almost impossible without immense disruption. The benefits, while appealing to some, might not serve the broader collective needs.
So third place, UIC, a real new Jamaica. Justification. Philosophically sound on libertarian terms, but highly impractical due to radical proposals requiring complete system change. Benefits focus on individual freedom, but risk dismantling crucial social safety nets, making overall positive impact questionable for the wider population, especially the vulnerable.
That seems like a fair assessment based on our criteria.
Wow, that was quite an exercise. Really laying them out like that highlights just how different these blueprints for Jamaica's future truly are.
It really does. Each manifesto offers a distinct response, built on different principles, aiming for different outcomes, taking different paths, a fascinating display of political possibilities.
So, for you listening, what really stands out? Which vision resonates most with your own priorities for Jamaica? Is it continuity, transformation, or revolution?
And maybe consider this. In today's complex world, what is the right balance between individual liberty, collective responsibility, and the role the state should play in building a prosperous, equitable society? How a nation answers that fundamental question shapes its destiny. These manifestos just offer 3 possible answers.
That's a really powerful thought to end on. Thank you for walking us through that deep analysis.
My pleasure. Always good to reason things out.
And thank you for tuning in to The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep thinking critically.